Hello, hello, hello! Good afternoon! Today we're going to be doing a little bit more, so I think I should also just adjust that so I'm not leaning off the screen as much. Okay. Still a little bit. That's okay. So this is one of my favorite skirts, however it is very damaged. There's quite a lot of places. That noise is all of the little these things I put on there to mark where the tears are so I can find them again in the future. Oh boy, I also forgot I did want to put on background music. There we go. Some little background tunes. Hoorah. There we go. So yeah, I marked all of the torn places with little clips so I can find them easier. And basically I'm just going to go at it. There's also this inside skirt, which I am considering cutting out. And we'll get to later. I'm going to do the other ones first because that one's big and stressful. Oh, here's one that I didn't mark. Great. Yeah, there's just a lot of tears in here. But the other thing that I wanted to do as I am repairing this is chat about all the different books that I've got on my bookshelf. I actually don't have that many. I thought I had more than I did. I was picking them all out and I was like, oh, this is not as many as I thought I had, huh? There's, I guess, more books that I've read that I want to have on my bookshelf that I don't actually have on my bookshelf. But, you know, so is life. You want things you don't have. Let's get a good long length of thread. For me, there it is. Boop, boop, boop. Poke that in and tie. The skirt also has several colors in it, but this is the best matched color I can find. And I don't really care if the color matches exactly, like if the repairs are visible, I don't really mind. Because I just want to be able to wear this skirt because it's so pretty. It's like the ocean. And I miss it. So, I'm going to try and do some work on it today. I probably won't even finish it today though because, again, it has a lot of tears. It's also pretty old, which is why alas, clothes, like fabrics, textiles get weak with age. And that's what happened here. It got pretty weak with age. Snip. Shoot, I don't really need that right now. Oop. Tap, tap. Okay, so what's the first one on my pile? This is one of the books that I've purchased myself. It's a very good book. It's The Sock Hill Girls. Turn Fear into Power. Great little spooky teen book. I always loved YA because I've been a teen longer than I've been an adult, man. There it is. So with this type of thing, you do want to go a little bit beyond where the rip starts, just for stabilization purposes. So I just lost it again. Where'd you go? There it is. So here's the rip, and about here is where I'm going to start sewing. I think I'm also technically putting my knot on the outside. Which way does this skirt go? No, that's the inside. Okay. There's just a line of straight stitches here. Oh, it went right through. Well then, better make a better knot. Retie that a little bit. So The Sock Hill Girls is a great little kind of horror book about a new girl moves to the island and makes some friends, but there's some weird shit going on the island and people keep getting murdered and they sort of have to figure it out. The style of it is really what I love the most. Is it's these three girls discovering their powers and their connection to the island. It's got one of those things which is sort of like magical realism. I'm not sure exactly what to call it, but the fact that the island is so old and has been going through so many cycles, the wind on the rocks for years and years and years has given it power. And I think that's something that's a really cool concept whenever it shows up, is that time and patterns lead to magic, lead to power. And that's the reason why Sawkill, that's the name of the island, is magical, is because all of this time and all of these loops have been going on, and that's given it power, and it lends those powers to the girls in the story, who use it for, you know, their adventures. It's quite cool, and as well as the descriptions in it are very well done. So I quite love just like the writing style of it. Okay, I need to figure out where... Yeah, this blends in pretty perfectly with the light green spots, but the rest of the spots not as much. But that's fine, because it blends in with some of it. What are you caught on? Don't be caught on it. There you go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I definitely recommend the Sawkill Girls. As I said, it's a book that I read and then purchased. That's what most books on my shelf are. I like to read things, and then I like to reread them. So if I find something that I love enough to want to reread it, then I will probably buy it. I don't usually buy books that I haven't read. I do have one book on there that I have never read that I feel a little guilty about for still having not read it, and I've owned it for like 2 years or something. But, you know, it happens. Yeah, I'm just doing a back stitch because I want the strength of it. So you just go ahead of where you're stitching from, and then loop back. Put it in the middle of your last stitch. Boop. That means you've basically done 2 stitches, excuse me, over the same spot. So it's a pretty strong stitch. Alrighty. Just need to make sure I stop losing track of where the fuck I am. Maybe I should use a different color of thread, but whatever. Alright, now I'm on the actual rip. Hooray. One of the other books that I have that is like a novel book, let me rearrange my pile, is this puppy. The Cold is in Her Bones. I think I recommended this on another stream, but it is one of the books that I happen to own by Petronell Van Arsdale. She has 2 books. I want to get her other one, but I haven't yet, just because I need to find it. I don't like ordering things online because I don't want to wait. I just want to have it in my hand and know that it's there. I'm like paranoid that something's gonna go wrong if I order something online. Like, what if they fuck it up? What if it never comes? Oh no, oh no, oh no. There's so many things. If I buy it from a store, then I know it's okay. It's in my hand. I can see that it is okay and not damaged. If I buy it online, I don't know what the fuck could happen between here and there. Anything, really. It's terrifying. Yeah, so that is a book about The Cold is in Her Bones. There's a girl who befriends snakes and speaks to snakes, and then one day her village discovers this ability and ousts her, and she is buried in the snow, and it's terribly, terribly cold, and all of her snakes come and wrap around her, but they can't help because they're cold-blooded, and they all die of cold together. And then several years down the line, in the same place, there are stories of a woman with snakes for hair who hunts the wilds and seduces all of the young girls to witchcraft. And it's quite an interesting story. It reminds me of, like, The Bewitched or other, like, sort of, or, like, The Ritual, those sort of horror movies that have more of a, like, lyrical style. Like, I Am the Lovely Thing That Lives in the House, I think is the title of a horror movie. Or I'm the Pretty Little Thing That Lives in the House, something like that. Like, it's that sort of style of, like, lyrical horror where there's just something creeping in the background and it's hard to see what it is. And it also, you know, touches on some of the themes that surround that phenomenon within history is like sexism and religion and the ways that societies are built to give some people power and take it away from others. It's about that sort of thing as well. What the fuck were the Puritans doing? Some whack shit. That's a large theme in the book. And I always really loved it. And just, especially just the prose in it is really good. And that's a big reason I loved it. Most of the other books I have are more visually appealing than, like, novel books. I didn't get down all my graphic novels from my shelf because I think I showed those off last time I was doing, like, a sewing stream. But there are a couple, I have quite a few art books. A couple of them, I think, 2 of them I was given and 1 of them I bought for myself. So the one that I bought for myself is Pandemonium, Devil's Candy Art Collection. This is a great fucking book. I love Devil's Candy. I have mentioned this before, but it's just a great little compendium of a bunch of art. There's a lot of, like, monthly wallpapers that was, that's, like, one of the rewards on the Patreon for Devil's Candy is monthly wallpapers, and then these are, like, some of the covers for some of the books, and just, like, little lock screen arts. There was also, like, a Patreon reward, I believe. Just all these little, and then towards the back there's some development sketches. Yeah, these are, like, character designs, figuring them out. What do they want them to look like? Tutorials, step by step. Like, it goes from, oh god. Hello, please. You can barely see it. God damn this camera. I need to get a different one. But, you know. Will you focus, you motherfucker? Hello? You'll only focus on my hand. Eh? Oh, that's kind of visible. Kind of. So yeah, it goes from, like, very rough sketch to, like, better outlines to painted to, like, adding in the characters and coloring the characters and finishing all of the stuff. It's just great. I love Rem's art so, so much. It's gorgeous at all times. And that book really showcases it and also shows some of the process, which is always fun. It's fun to see the behind the scenes of art. Sometimes as much as it is to see the end product of art. It's interesting to see the thought process behind it all. So that's a super cool book. I'm very excited for receiving the next art book that will be coming out. It's been announced, but it's, I believe, still in progress because Rem is very busy. Lots of stuff going on. Don't blame them for taking a while. The other ones I have are both based on animated movies. One of them is from Kubo and the Strings. Where did I put that one? Huh? I know it was here earlier. There it is. Oh god, I've got a big old pile behind me. Kubo and the Two Strings, the art of. So I fucking love stop motion animation. I think it is so, so cool. Just the dedication and the time it takes. There's and one of the best in the business is Leica Studios, who they made the animated Coraline movie. They made Paranorman, which I also love. They made the Box Trolls, which has such a cool style on the characters. And they've released quite a few little, like, shorts about the making of and the behind the scenes, and just watching the dedication of making all of the different props in their movies is so cool and fun. This is just a random string. That's where it was coming apart. where it ripped because the strings were no longer there. So I'm going to clip it. Throw it out. You've lost your purpose, bud. Get out of here. Okay. So I've always loved stop motion animation, and that was a Christmas present, I think, like the year that movie came out, of just a little art book about all the different things in it. It's so cool. Ugh, I'm obsessed with it. I love animation. One of my favorite things, I'll probably have to, like, show some off one day, but I also love claymation, which is, you know, sort of the cousin of stop motion animation, where you animate. It is stop motion animation, but with clay. It's just like a specific genre within stop motion animation. And in like high school specifically, I was fucking obsessed with the Saw franchise for some reason. I don't know why. Don't ask me why I was obsessed with the Saw franchise in junior high. But I was, and one of the things that I loved to watch on YouTube was behind the scenes, which I still love. I love behind the scenes of like horror movies. I think it's so fun and cool. And B, stop motion recreations of saw traps, of which there are quite a few. I'm sure they still exist to this day, but it's kind of fascinating. I think stop motion and claymation specifically are sort of underutilized in horror, or just like unrecognized in horror. Like, claymation is fucking scary. There's some really spooky shit out there. There's some unintentionally spooky claymation, and then there's some intentionally spooky claymation. And not even spooky, fucking pants-shitting terrifying. It's great. I'll have to, like, do a whole recommendation of some of the greats that I've found over the years. I remember my favorite story is, one of the other famous studios as far as stop motion animation goes, or claymation specifically, is Aardman Studios, who did Wallace and Gromit. They also did a series. I'm gonna tie this off because we got through the whole tear and plus a little bit past it. They made Wallace and Gromit Studios. One of the other things they made was Creature Comforts, I believe is the title. But it was basically, they interviewed a bunch of people in Britain where the studio is based, and then they used that footage and spliced it over animals, so they were, like, interviewing the lions about tea time or whatever. It's a very funny little series. So one day, as a kid, my parents decided to show Creature Comforts to me and my brother. They found a DVD of it at the library, and they thought, this will be great for the children. They'll love it. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Except what they did not know is that this DVD was a double feature with the motherfucking worst thing that terrified me. I'm going to have to look it up because, oh my god, I think I have it on my... Do I have it on here? No. Thought I had it on one of my playlists, but what's it called? Let me type. Where is it? Aardman. There it is. Not without my handbag. This motherfucker. So, how this DVD worked is that it would cut between the nice animals talking and being kind of funny and silly, and then it would switch to this fucking short, which was split up into several pieces, in which a woman's eyeballs are rolling around outside of her head, and she's chasing her handbag, and the devil shows up and tries to kidnap the little girl, and then she feeds the devil a bunch of sweets until he fucking explodes. Oh my god, it was bizarre, and I kept running upstairs and being like, Mom, Dad, I'm so scared. The devil is on the screen, and I don't know what's happening, and it's scary, and I don't like it. And they would come downstairs, and it would switch back to Creature Comforts, and they'd be like, it's just some funny zoo animals. I don't see why you're so scared. And then I would say, okay, I guess, I don't know, it's not there anymore, and I can't really show it. And then it would come back on, and it was back to the devil fucking terrorizing this family. oh my god, and I would run back upstairs and I'd say, Mom, Dad, please, the devil on the TV, help me. And then they'd come back downstairs. And it was Creature Comforts again. It's just the funny zoo animals. And it took like 3 times before I managed to get them fast enough that they saw this horrifying little short on the screen and they were like, oh, whoops. Terrifying. The worst. Why would they do that to me? I just wanted to watch funny zoo animals and now I have to deal with the devil. Yikes. Oh, so this has the remnants of the other time I repaired it. You can see there's some pink thread. Not that you can see it because this camera sucks. But I did repair this previously, however, it's kind of ripped anyway. Some of my repairs were not that strong because this was like before I really learned what I was doing. Like you can see this. It's all weird and turned out. I know, yeah. Now would have been good because I could have fucking rewinded. I didn't know how to rewind my TV though. So I was just like, it's happening and no one believes me. There's a little rip here. See, there's just a bunch of tiny rips in this one. So irritating. Yeah, also like all of the like Salad Fingers is another great like animated old one. I loved watching that as a kid. That's one of the other creepy YouTube things that I like to watch. And I'm sure there's lots besides just like Claymation, because Claymation was my very favorite, but then the other ones I loved as well. So yeah, I've always loved Claymation, spooky or not spooky. Spooky in particular, I do enjoy because I am a fan of horror nowadays. But they're both good. And Kubo and the Two Strings came out and was a really cool movie that like me and my parents and my brother, I believe, all saw all together and really loved. And so that year for Christmas I got an art book for it, which was just exploration of all the concept art, all of the behind the scenes and things. I love art books of movies, of animated movies. I love art books in general, but like especially for animated features, they're really insightful and cool to look at because it's like you have to create a world from scratch, especially with it's stop motion. One of the cool things about Kubo is that they had the largest puppet. Like it was record breaking. There's this giant skeleton that the main characters have to fight, and the skeleton had to be bigger than the main characters so that it would be to scale, and it was based on, like, they had a bunch of robotics so that they could move the arms how they wanted to. One of the things about stop motion is that you have to be very precise with your movements. So, like, the arms for the skeleton had to be able to be very precisely posed so they would move only an increment. Because if you think about it, like, if you're not working on precise, you can have something that moves like that and then kind of bounces back. But you need to, like, step, 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 and have all of those movements very, very precise instead of like, okay, here adjustment, here adjustment. They can't be big adjustments like that. They have to be tiny incremental adjustments. It's an insane ordeal, and that's why I love stop motion, because I love just like looking at the details, and that's something that I like about animation, but it just especially shines with stop motion animation because you know that like all of this is a physical object that exists. Ugh, I love it so much. Yeah, art books are cool for any sort of creative project. Yeah, it is interesting to see. One of my favorites, speaking of, the Worthy Kids YouTube channel is, I think, the most masterful example of using 3D animation to imitate stop motion. They do things that look like Rankin Bass pictures, which is, if you've been raised in America, probably you've seen, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or Santa Claus is Coming to Town. There's quite a few of their Christmas movies that got very famous because they were very cheap to put on TV every year, so they got put on TV every year, which is great. And so, like, Worthy Kids, the channel, has made several videos that are emulating that style, and they'll take it really fucking far, which is really fucking cool. As in, they'll do things like putting in strings, like they have a space one where you can see the strings on the spaceship. And keep in mind, this is a computer animation. There were no real strings, but because they're thinking about the way that stop motion animation works, they're like, yeah, of course there would be strings, because if this was real stop motion animation, you would have strings. And that's fucking great. The other one that Rankin Bass actually made an animated Hobbit movie way before like anybody else had made a Hobbit movie. It was like the first motion picture version of The Hobbit. And to me, the Rankin Bass version of The Hobbit is what The Hobbit looks like, because that's like the first one I saw. And also I like that it's like willing to be kind of ugly. Like, it's spooky and scary, and the spiders are creepy, and everybody's faces are a little bit too lumpy because that's the kind of style that they have. But I love it. I think it works really well for a story like The Hobbit that is like spooky and scary. Like, it's not the most like, there's fucking spiders and they're scary, and then like things are lighting on fire and that's scary. So I like the representation of like, they have more human faces than some things, or like more, that's not what I meant. I meant the opposite. I meant like the humans are kind of like, their faces are not quite human, and it helps it to feel more like a fantasy world, because it's like, yeah, of course the dwarves look a little weird and lumpy potato people-ish because they're dwarves, and that's what they're supposed to look like. They can't look just like human beings. It's great. Oh god. See, that's irritating. That's the whole point of ugly dolls. Why would you make them not ugly? Yeah. Ugly dolls have really good character designs. Like, I don't know. There's some pillars of character design that people tend to forget about. I think I heard someone summarize it as like, the basic character design is cute, cool, pretty, ugly, scary. Those are like the 5 pillars, I think. Cute, cool. Oh, and then sexy. And most characters are some remix of those traits, where they're either like pretty and sexy, or they might be cool and sexy and be like kind of a badass, or they might be like ugly and cute, which would be the ugly dolls, or they might just be one of those traits. And all character designs kind of fit into one of those traits. And you gotta think about, like, what do you want your character to look like? Do you want them to be cool or scary or what? And they can be mixes of those, but generally they'll fall into one of those categories. And, like, good character design does not necessarily mean that it's pretty character design, because there are other ways to design characters. It depends on the emotion you want to... My fucking thread came off my needle. Wah! It depends on what kind of audience, or what kind of emotion that you want to instill in your audience. That should matter more to your character design than anything else. That's the point. Alright. There we go. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Back into it. Yeah, so it's super cool. And then the other art book that I have was another present, and it's for a movie that I have even higher praise for, because I think it saved the fucking 3D animation industry. And that would be Into the Spider-Verse. This motherfucking movie. Oh my god. Like, even this cover has so many of the things that I love about this movie. So if you look on his face, it kind of just looks like blurs, because this camera is dumb and I need a new one. Oh, you can see the reflection of the camera, lol. But you can see dots on his face. You can see dots on his face. Which has an insane history and legacy, because when comics were first being printed, they would be printed on a dot matrix, which means that they would have several layers of dots. They would have a layer of blue dots and red dots and yellow dots, and then the mixing of those dots would mean that the colors were mixed. If you look at old comics, you can actually see where those dots are printed. It's a grid of dots, and then you decide what positions they go in, and that helps you to make pictures. The density of those dots will help with your shading, and the colors of those dots will help with the colors in the comics. And that was a very quick and efficient way of printing your comics. And they added that in the movie. You can see dots on the character's skin that mimic the way that that is in the comics. And that's not the only really fucking cool thing about that movie. There's a lot of really cool things about that movie. The fact that they'll, like, put the words on the screen that they throw something in the movie, and then the word bang or smack will appear in the movie. Fuck yeah. Yeah, they're also used for effect. But the fact that they, like, thought to put that in is so cool. And I know there's... I don't know if I could find it, but there's one particular picture in here. There's just a close-up of the main character's eye, and on that you can see the way that the pupil is not perfectly round. I know, then they put bagel when they threw a bagel, and then it was like, bagel! That's the sound effect. Ah! Fuck, it's so good. I love it so much. So that was definitely an art book. Like, me and my family all poured over it together, even though it was, like, a present for me. I need to make my string longer. I just lost it again. I think it's hard because I've got, like, a lot of distance that I need to be covering. Because I'm going under the skirt, and it's making me reach a ways. Okay. So I'll flip through that for a minute, in a minute, but I'm gonna try and work on this a little bit longer. Oh god, oh god. Can't fucking see. But yeah, I'm just gonna tie it off. And get a longer thread because I think that'll help me. Ugh. So Into the Spider-Verse obviously put a lot of thought into every little part of their movie, into making things look like comic books. One of the things I love is the design of Kingpin, of how he takes up the entire screen by himself. That's another good example of character design doesn't always have to be realistic. It just has to give you the emotions that you need to feel. And Kingpin is, like, huge and intimidating and bigger than anybody else. And that's why his character design is so fucked up. Obviously, no real human being looks like that. Is the size of a fucking skyscraper. But he's not a real human being. He's a over-exaggerated giant comic book character. And so they make him over-exaggerated and giant and weird. And it's great! Okay. I'm very excited for the new one to come out. I wonder what they'll do and if they'll do even more new and cool things. Probably! I'm very excited. Whee! Alright, that's about as long as my arms are. Try not to get it too tangled. That's usually the longest you want to go with your string, is as long as your arms are. Because otherwise you won't be able to reach as easily. Oh god. Come on, strings. Tie in a nice little knot for me, why don't you? Alright. I know, one of my favorite shots in the film is, like, it's literally just all black screen and then Kingpin's head at the very top. Like, if you zoom in on him that far, it's like, he's just black. black nothingness and then a tiny little head on top, and it's great. It really works, and it allows some very cool, like, paneling with the characters. And that's another thing, is the technique of comics and paneling that they sort of embrace in the film is... Come out of there. Like, framing of the screen. It's kind of another way of saying framing, although with paneling it's still... But they use things that look a lot like paneling, and it's really neat. Can't stress enough how fucking neat it is. I'm excited to see what the new one is about. Boop, boop. I'm excited to see mostly that they're, like, traveling to other multiverses, because now they have things that let them travel to other multiverses. So that's definitely going to be a fun part, because they've already shown it a little of how, like, the style that the other worlds are drawn in is different from the main style of the movie, which is cool. Interesting. Maybe I can look that up. Ooh. We've gone a bit long because I have to stretch. Oh my god, that's my whole arm. Yep. That's okay, though. Yep. I know, I hope we get to see more of the other worlds in part 2. That's one of the things that I would be looking forward to. I am looking forward to, I would be looking forward to. I don't know what the fucking words are. I'm gonna look that up so I can check it out later. Don't you make noise. Okay. Wow. Treasures. What kind of game is it? Side scroller? Interesting. Yeah, I'll look at that after stream, but now it's there. Woo. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna pull that out and flip through it a little bit. Boop. Wah! Oh, it's heavy. Oh, it's a big boy. Beep, beep. Get out the way, everything else. Ugh. Yeah, these are some of, like, the original storyboards. All the concepts, backgrounds. I mean, even in the backgrounds, I love the unfinishedness of it, like, that you can see brushstrokes very clearly. Oh, poor old guy. Ah, anime, bitch! One of the best things about this is at the bottom of the page they just did a bunch of expressions for her, which are very anime little expressions. It's great. On the prowl. Ugh. It's so cool. All of the different... Yeah, expressions and poses, they have a bunch of those. Would recommend giving that one a look if you can find it. One of the other ones I have that is also very good art is the authoritative Calvin and Hobbes. I think I technically stole this from my dad, but he wasn't using it, so it's mine now. But Calvin and Hobbes, this book in particular has... Yeah, I don't know who the fuck that note is for. I believe it talks about, like, the process in this one. Or does it not? Oh, no, no, no. That's the one my dad has, and then this is a different one that I picked up because I love Calvin and Hobbes. The one that my dad has specifically talks about, like, the, like, behind the scenes and stuff, and that's when I first fell in love with Calvin and Hobbes. This is just comics, a collection of them. But the one that my dad has talks about, like, how it sort of redefined what you can do with comics, and how he was always pushing the bounds of what you can do with comics, and like making panels and trying to work with, you know, the newspapers being kind of shitty to him, as they were to all comic artists, of like cutting the panel lengths and chopping it up. And he was doing things like new things with paneling. Like usually it's just very basic panels, and then he would break them up a little bit. And also like behind the scenes of like Calvin's Hobbes is a biker, because the author of Calvin and Hobbes is a biker. And so he wanted a space to talk about biking and all of the interesting and irritating things about it, of like biking on the city streets and there's nowhere to put your bike because it's made for cars, and like all of the different silly equipment that he had. And yeah, and then I picked that up because I was like, well, I need a Calvin and Hobbes book because I love Calvin and Hobbes. And it really did like redefine comics in a lot of ways, which is very cool. Yeah, I can see why special needs kids would love Calvin and Hobbes, but I think it just also like embraces all the fun of childhood for anybody, really. Okay, gotta keep going. Like, I always loved playing imagination games more than anything else, of like making up stories and pretending I was someone that I wasn't, and being like, and now I'm in a spaceship and the washing machine is the engine of the spaceship. Ooh. Like, I love that stuff. And that's obviously a big part of Calvin and Hobbes, is what can he create in his imagination. And that's one of the greatest parts, where the author gets to flex his art, because he's like, all right, in this one Calvin is pretending he's in space, so I get to draw space and a bunch of aliens, hell yeah. Or like, I get to draw a really realistic dinosaur because Calvin loves pretending to be a dinosaur, and it's fucking great. It's lovely. It lets you show off your art skills in such a hella cool way. I love it. So the other one that I have here is, now we are moving on to a topic for another day, but I have a couple, oh my god, there's this fucking string that I need to clip. Okay, you go there, go into pincushion. You! Remove yourself at once from my presence! Oh god. I wish my camera didn't do that. I'm gonna get a new one. Oh yeah, also, I did actually set up a Ko-fi page. So I need to set up goals on it. I have to figure out how much things cost to do that. But one of my goals will probably be to get I think a GoPro camera would work. Or just a camera that doesn't do that every time I slightly bump my desk. It's so fucking annoying, I'm sorry. Ugh. And that, like, is not so blurry. Like, you should be able to focus on this. I'm not that far away from the camera. I'm really not. And yet, it can't fucking focus on me. God. Yeah, I need to get a better camera. So that's one of the things, if you find it in your heart that you want to donate to me, and you definitely don't have to, I will spend it on a camera, and probably other computer parts if I manage to get the camera. I think that's one of the first things. And then maybe some, like, hardware updates. So yeah, any donations I get, I promise I'll use for, like, things on stream. Because I do need some tech updates. I'm trying, but I think there's some stuff that I just don't have and I need. So yeah, the other topic is manga! This is one of my favorite series of all times. It's a very popular and famous series. You probably have heard of it. It's great. I got the whole thing. I accidentally got, I think, like, volume 7 twice, and then I had to go back and be like, please, I got it wrong. Can I trade them? Oh yeah, yesterday, if you were not here, this one is also busted. The fucking space key only triggers half the time, and it was extremely irritating. I ended stream early because I was like, I can't play this game if I can't fucking jump. Jumping is very important in the platforming game. Come on. Ugh. So irritating. Yeah, I have this one because it was on sale, I believe. I need to get a better one. Oh no, I never use controllers. We never had consoles in my house. Like, I think we first got one when my brother was like 16 and I'm 2 years older than him. And so I am really unfamiliar with consoles in general. I'm just not used to using a controller. It's always easier for me to use on a keyboard because that's just what I'm used to. I just use keyboard all the time unless like the game demands that you use controller, and even then usually I still fucking use it. If it's like, this is recommended to be played on a controller, and I'm like, I'm gonna ignore you, and then if it's really really hard to play on the keyboard, I'll switch to the controller because I'm also really stubborn. So I mostly just use keyboard because it's what I'm used to and it's what I like, I guess, and that I don't really love using a controller because I don't know how to use a controller because I'm bad at it. Yeah, I could use a controller, but I really don't. Plus, like, the cord that I had to connect my controller was on the fritz, which was also not great. Because it kept disconnecting constantly. Ugh. Alright, finish that tear so we can do another one. So, yeah, Princess Jellyfish, which I was talking about. I'm gonna do... I gotta find, like, all the manga that I have read and don't own to review, but now I'm just gonna... For now, I will just talk about the ones that I actually own a physical copy of. I own the whole series of both of the ones that I'm talking about today. But Princely Jellyfish, that fits in, kind of. Princess Jellyfish is about a boarding house full of, like, otaku women who are all just, like, the worst at society and fitting in. And it's a very, very funny story, and it's also very relatable and cute. It's got very found family vibes. Because they're all like, yeah, we're all weird and we all have our own, like, interests that we like, but we still care about each other and we're still friends, and it's great. And basically, our main heroine is just going about her life and then runs into the most beautiful girl who is secretly a guy who is cross-dressing. You know I fucking love anything with, like, the slightest sniff of trans people. I'm just like, ooh, what? Cross-dressing? Trans? I love it. I love trans stories. They're beautiful. This one is not quite a trans story. He's really just a cross-dresser who just likes pretty dresses. And is also happens to be the son of a politician. And so it's like nobody can fucking find out. But it basically just talks about her journey of, seriously, Tsukimi becoming a fashion designer because she loves jellyfish, but then she figures out that she has some passion for making clothes that look like jellyfish. And she starts dressing this beautiful princess who is secretly a boy. And eventually at the end, I mean, it's kind of spoilers, but they end up inventing little, like, dresses made of sweats materials that are very easy to wear. And it's great. I love it. Because it talks about how, like, fashion is for everybody and it can be very intimidating and, like, just... It's good to have passion for things, and it's also just uproariously funny. All of the miscommunication, it's great. I love that. Yay, Splatoon, good job. It's good, I think, for games to have more options, which they definitely do nowadays. Like, I know The Sims also recently updated with you can just, like, choose can has baby, cannot have baby, can provide, can get someone pregnant, cannot get someone pregnant. And that's great. That's a great way to define it, because it's like, it never really mattered anyways, and then you can just decide the rest on your own. Because it's not like you can see the genitals anyway, so they can be whatever you imagine. Ooh. And I think, especially like with hairstyles, I don't know, that's an interesting thing, is there's usually more female options than there are male options, because fashion is less interesting for men. And I think we're making some strides to break out of that, but I think it still kind of holds true. Like, men's fashion can still be pretty fucking boring. Like, there are some people who can do it cool, but there's a lot of people who are just wearing suits, and that's what men's fashion is. And I think that's one of the things that, like, this book sort of, Princess Jellyfish touches on, because the main male character, he really loves his mother, and he loves fashion, and he just loves beauty and pretty things, but it's really weird and fucked up of him to love pretty things, because everybody thinks that, and so he has to keep it hidden and has to, like, pretend dress up as a boy at home. It's obviously, like, a pretty trans narrative, even if he's like, no, I am a boy, I just also like to cross-dress. Which, you know, is a valid gender identity. But it's very relatable in that trans way of, like, masking and pretending to be one thing when you're really the other. I love the Splatoon community from what I've seen of it. I kind of want to get into those games. I just haven't really, because again, I don't really have any consoles. Oops. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if My Dress Up Darling wasn't inspired, at least in part, by Princess Jellyfish. It is sort of like a flipped dynamic. Because, like, the girl is the really, really shy one, and the guy is the, like, outgoing, like, let's fucking do it! Excited to, like, experience all these new things and push the boundaries one. And also, like, the romance is not quite... Like, I wouldn't say that this one has any, like, fan service shots, which Dress Up Darling definitely has, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just something that Princess Jellyfish isn't really going for. Like, as often as it's making the characters look pretty, it's making them look weird and awkward, because that's a big part of the story, is that the characters are weird and awkward and kind of creepy and freaky, and it's great. I love it. Yeah, masking is something that autistic people do, but I think it's something that a lot of people do as well. I think that's the official sort of where it came from, but I mean, there's similar behaviors. Like, it's something that, like, exists in multiple cultures, of, like, putting on your face or putting on a brave face or whatever you want to, however you want to put it. There's a lot of different terms for it. Yeah, Dress Up Darling has more fan service. Like, I would not be surprised if it is at least in part inspired by Princess Jellyfish, which is a legendary manga that, like, a lot of people know of, especially, you know, people who are writing and reading manga would have heard of it. Losing track of where I'm going. But it's a little bit of, like, a flip dynamic, and also it's obviously about, like, a slightly different hobby. Like, cosplay has more to it than just fashion and, like, garment making. And an interesting thing about Princess Jellyfish is that it also talks about the fashion industry and, like, how fast fashion can be bad. Like, when things don't sell, they just... I mean, one of the most striking parts in the manga is when there's just a room full of clothes that didn't sell, and the CEO of the company is just like, just burn them all. And it's like, excuse me? All of the clothes? We're just gonna burn them? And it's like, yeah, they didn't sell. They're worth nothing. We spent all of the time and effort to make these, but in this society, in this world, they're worth nothing. So just fucking burn them. And it's an interesting commentary on that as well, which is cool. Of, like, how it's really hard for Spooky to make it in an industry that is so brutal at times and that like is all image focused. Like she doesn't fit in with the image of who she's really supposed to be. And so everybody's like, you can't be the fashion designer. What are you talking about? I have made a knot. Oh no, oh fuck. That's an interesting situation with your email friend. I think it's good to come out of your shell on that sort of thing. It kind of sucks when people are different than what they pretend to be, though. I definitely feel that side of it. Oh, God. Okay, there we go. All better. Whew. Making knots on accident. I only want to make knots on purpose, thanks. Like that. Thank you. And it sucks that people feel like they have to lie about who they are in order to be friends. That's one of the times when I'm like, I mean, it sucks that you did that, but I guess I am also sympathetic. Yeah. But I mean, masking is defensive behavior because it is caused by fear of rejection and fear of seeming as weird. Because they don't want to be suddenly weird, but if they trust you enough, then they might be like, hey, this is my real self that I'm willing to show you. And then if you react badly, then they're going to take that badly. And that's why a lot of people will put a mask on themselves and pretend to be something that they're not, because they don't want rejection, probably because they've got rejected in the past and they don't want to face that again. So it's something that, like, I definitely sympathize with. And, you know, emphasize with, like, that's something that I have done in the past, is being like, oh God, don't be weird, and like, oh God, I can't let people know how I really feel, and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Yep. I mean, we all do that to some extent, I think. Of being like, yeah, this mainstream thing, and then it's like, no, I really like weird shit, but like, nobody knows about weird shit, so I'm just gonna talk about the mainstream stuff. Yeah, it's a very complicated issue, obviously. Like, there's lots of layers and layers to it. Alright, where's the next one? Here we go. I marked it. I found it. Yeah, I really love the Princess Jellyfish manga. I have all the volumes of it. That's one that I wanted to pick up. There's more here. Ugh. See, there's just so many rips in this skirt. Which is why I've been putting it off for so long. Because it's very damaged. Ugh. Alright, speaking of gay shit and my love for trans stories, the other manga that I own, is Our Dreams at Dusk, which, one, is fucking gorgeous, and two, is a really great story about queer things. Like, it's so pretty. Oh wait, there's one of the really good ones. Is he's dreaming and there's all these snowflakes and all the things going on, and it's so beautiful. And it touches on several different issues of, like, wanting to be looked at and also not wanting to be looked at, the way that you want to be seen and perceived, and the way that you're so scared of how other people might see you. It basically centers on, there's a kid who's going through some shit. he's just figuring out that he's gay and he's like, oh god, oh fuck. Because he's in high school and he doesn't know how to deal with it. None of us do. And he stumbles onto a place that is a meeting place for several different queer individuals of varying flavors. There's a couple who are lesbians. There's the owner of this little cafe who is Arrow Ace. And there's an old man who has a male lover but barely ever sees him because their families reject that relationship. And that's one of the things that, like, is especially tragic that happens in this book is, like, his partner is ill and in the hospital, but they don't really see each other because he's not family. He's not a girlfriend. You can't have a close relationship with your male friend. Like, even though they have a really close relationship, it's not societally accepted. And so he has to sort of beg his way in to visit his lover. And that's a very real situation that happens. That is one of the reasons why getting gay marriage legalized was such a fight, is because, especially like during the AIDS crisis, you could have a lover and not be allowed to see them because you weren't family and you weren't married, and therefore you're not allowed to help with those sorts of decisions and not allowed to see them. And that's really heartbreaking. And that's just one of the many things. It also touches on, there's a trans man as well who's part of this little group who ends up running into some of the people that he once knew in high school and sort of having to deal with their comments. And it's interesting because in his case, he's meeting with someone who's like very enthusiastic and kind of like asking too many questions, and he's just like, I don't want to talk about it. Don't bring it up all the time, please. I don't want everybody to know about this. I don't want to talk about it all the time. It's a little weird that you keep fucking asking. Like, that's also a very relatable experience to most queer people, is everybody's like, hey, will you personally teach me everything there is to know about the LGBTQ community, please? And it's like, no, I'm busy. I have a job. I don't have to teach you that. Please leave me alone. I didn't want to bring this up. Why are you asking me about my genitals? I don't want to tell you about them. Like, that's the fucking worst thing that everybody always does to trans people, is they're like, have you had bottom surgery? And it's like, dude, take me out to dinner before you ask me if I'm gonna fuck you. Like, come on. You don't need to know that. Who cares? It's none of your goddamn business. Never ask a trans person that. Like, like, unless you are, like, have been dating and are ready to go down on them and need to know what to expect, don't fucking ask them that. There's people who've asked that, like, on television, on air, and they're like, so have you had surgery? And it's like, you're literally asking someone about their genitals on TV. Come on. You're gross. Why do you need to know? Why do you care? You're nasty. That's why. Leave. Just cease and desist. Yeah. Anyways, that's my little rant. Yeah, so it's a great book. It's gorgeous. It talks about, like, all the different emotions of wanting acceptance and being scared of asking for that acceptance and all of the different emotions. And it's gorgeous. I love it. It also has, you know, the ever rare Arrow Ace representation of someone who is nobody, who just doesn't want to be anything, doesn't want to fit into all the rules. Who's also, like, non-binary, agender, like, AAA, baby! Yeah, so you're autistic, so, like, are you good at math? Or, like, can you count things really fast? And it's like, dude, I mean, that one's even more offensive, kind of, because, like, autistic people don't necessarily come with a special skill. They're just kind of people. That's more of a stereotype than anything. I don't know. They're both definitely really dumb, ignorant questions. But, you know, they're of different flavors. Woo! And then the other two that I had, I believe, are some books that are childhood favorites that I didn't really bring up the last time I was talking about that, just because they were on a different shelf. Like, it's got like 4 shelves, and I only looked at the top shelf, really. I looked at like the top 2 shelves, and I didn't see these ones hiding down towards the bottom because they're bigger, and they were on the bottom shelf because they are tall boys. So let me tie this, and then I will tell you about them. Not. Come on. No, I want you to line up. Come on, baby. Yeah. Okay. So one of them is a little cute drawing book, Drawing Fairies, A Believer's Guide, which I love because it's got a narrative of someone going out and finding fairies and then talking about the process of drawing them. And also, it fucked up the way I draw eyes forever. Because it talks about how, like, fairies can flex more than normal people and how their eyes are different than normal people. And then that was the first time I had learned how to draw eyes. Like, this is a drawing book. It teaches you how to draw. So, like, here's poses and then here's, like, the finished piece. It teaches you all the steps. I don't know where the eyeball part is. Yeah. Here's the human eye and here's the fairy eye where it's an oval. And so I just drew eyes real fucked up for, like, most of my life. And then I was like, oh, I've been drawing them too, like, pointy because I learned from that fucking fairy book. But it's a really fun book, and like they talk about the families and like they have all of the same things that we do, and it's so good. I was always a fairy child. I fucking love fairies, man. I love the Flower Fairy illustrations, and I loved Winx Club. I still love Winx Club, let's be real. Like, once a month I will go and watch all of the, like, Winx Club transformations on YouTube, because it's, like, magical girl shit, and also they have wings and they're fairies, and I love it. So good. So, yeah. That's something that I always go back to. And I, like, made myself, like, a Winx sauna when I was a child. I was like, and this is what I would look like as a fairy. Because, you know, that's what you do. That's what you gotta do. So, I love that book, and I was like, that's why I drew my eyes fucked up, because I read this book. Oh, no. Alright, come here. Let me hold you close. Alright, there you go. Yeah, so I've always loved depictions of fairies in whatever media. Whether they're, like, fashionable teen girls, or, like, tiny things in your garden, or if they're flower fairies who look just like me. Like, there was a flower fairy who looked just like me, because, you know, it was like a little girl with brown hair, and I was like, oh my god. That's one of the great things about the flower fairy illustrations in particular. One, they're like really realistic drawings of plants, which is cool, because then you can use that to, like, go outside and identify the plants in your garden, and you could be like, oh, that's, like, a hyacinth, or that's a rose, and I recognize those from the book I read. How cool. Now I know the names of plants. And also, they were always depicted as children of varying ages, which I think a lot of fairies are depicted as adults, but I think it was particularly special to me as a kid to read about fairies who looked like me, also a kid. So I think that's one of the great things that I loved and still love about flower fairies in particular. Yeah, realistic drawings are very cool. I did read The Ancient Magus Bride. I think I kind of fell off when there was, like, I think it was, like, the college arc or whatever. But I did really like that book. I love the depiction of, you know, European fairy tales, but rethought by someone who's sort of seeing them from an outside perspective. That's very cool. One of the other series that talks about fairies that I love for different reasons than why I usually like fairies is the Artemis Fowl series. Oh my god, it's so fun. It, like, mixes fairies with, like, tech and spy shenanigans, kind of, and it's a very smart book series that is always like, it's about a genius who's making genius plans, and so it has to make genius plans and talk about them. And that's a really cool part of the Artemis Fowl series, is that the fairies, like, they have technology as much as they have magic, and they use them both in tandem in order to do their fairy things. And just, it establishes, like, the skills of the characters, and then uses those to build these, like, intricate puzzles out of the plot, which is very cool. Alright, come on. I didn't cut it, did I? I did cut it, damn it. I thought I was cutting the non-string effect. I was trying to cut the other strings that are on here. Oh, God. I done fucked up. Oh, well. Nothing for it but to keep going. Oh, right. I should probably tie my string, or it's just gonna go straight through again. Get off. Yeah, so I love that book quite a lot, and all books about fairies, really. Come on. There you go. Come on, I want that tail to be a little shorter. Although my thing is all twisted up, so it's a little hard. Okay, this is one way to untwist it, is to just let gravity fucking take care of it, except it's not working. Never mind. Oh, God. There it goes. Longer tail. There we go. Knotting, knotting, knotting. Whoop, whoop, come on. I want you to line up, please. You are not lining up. Really just abysmal. Oh my God. I actually have a tapestry of like some scientific illustrations of plants that I put on my wall, because I had this big blank spot and I was like, I want a tapestry to... I didn't even tie it on. I undid it on accident. I wanted a tapestry to take care of the big blank spot, and then I found one that had a bunch of like scientific illustrations of plants. They've got like the Greek names on them and things, which is very fun. Ooh, that sounds fun. I hope you have a good time. Good luck, have fun. Hope you win. I don't know. Do you win at that? Sounds like a good time, though. There you go. Oh, God. Oh, that's great. I love that. Overdubbing of things. Super fun. I would have too much fun with that. Maybe I should look that up sometime. I like to do silly voices. I don't think I do them enough. I need to do more silly voices. I can do silly voices! Until I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, wait, what silly voices do I do? I think my best is probably my Valley Girl. Like, honestly, you're like totally canceled, dude. Like, I don't even know why you're here. It's kind of really annoying that you decided to show up and ruin my entire day. Like, wow. Like the just bitch popular girl. There's a couple different names for that voice, really. Come here. Gonna fix you up, don't you worry. Soon I will be able to wear you again. I missed you so bad. After ignoring you in my to-be-repaired pile for so long because of laziness. Oh, it's just overwhelming a little bit because it's got a lot of holes in it. It's very easily ripped, but hopefully this keeps it alive for a few years yet. May have to give up on it eventually. Sad. But not today! Not giving up today. What are you caught on? There you go. The other book I have, which I do recommend under certain circumstances, is The Care and Keeping of You by American Girl, the body book for girls, which is honestly one of the best things my mom ever gave me. So, like, as I was, like, 12 and about to go through puberty, my mom handed me that book and was like, here, you can read this at whatever pace you want. If you've got any further questions, please come ask me. But if you don't want to ask me, then you can read it in this book, and then it's not as awkward to ask me about all these weird things. And honestly, it's fucking great. It talks about all the different things that, like, my female body was going through during puberty. Like, it talked about breasts and how they might feel, and it talked about acne and not being ashamed of it, and it talked about, you know, all the different sort of things you needed to know. It talked about periods, and it talked about, like, exercise and growing hair, and all of these things. American Girl is honestly a pretty good company for kids, and that's, like, a vintage book. Like, my mom was reading that book when she was growing up as a kid. Yeah, but I think it was, especially, like, the way my mom presented it, it is a very good way to let your kid approach it so that it's not as awkward. I just read it all because I've always loved knowledge and sucking it all up, so I pretty much just read it the second I got my hands on it and was like, oh, I need to know everything right now. And then I could go back to certain parts as they were becoming more personally relevant to me. And just, it's a great way to approach, like, all of that. And then, you know, one of the things that was in it was, like, shaving. And I did end up asking my mom later, like, can you show me how to shave in person? Because, like, the book does describe it, but it is a little scary and intimidating. Oh. Never mind. You're not leaving. Welcome back. Such a long absence. Yeah, and it is, like, awkward for parents, but it also, like, it allows that space for kids and parents. And, like, as I said, like, there were things that I could follow up on if I was like, hey, I have further questions about this thing that the book mentioned, or, like, I want a demonstration of this part of the book, please. Then I can receive that, and it's great. And it's just, honestly, like, I would recommend a book, like that book in particular, or a book similar to it, if you ever become a parent and have a female child. It was pretty great for explaining all of the things that I wanted to know about how everything worked. And I know there's probably other books like that. There was some, like, oh my god, I don't think I have it anymore because I threw it away, but, like, I got a very Mormon, like, dating, and one side was for girls and one side was for boys, and, like, how you're supposed to date and interact with people, and oh my god, it was just cringe, man. Like, it's not bad to learn how to date other people, but it was very much like, and make sure every date is a way to lead to marriage. So, like, if you're on a date and you're like, I don't think he's marriage material, then don't keep going on dates with him. And, like, oh my god, yeah. I'm older now, and I am not going on dates just for marriage. Yeah, it was pretty much that vibe, except with a good dose of like, and do this because your heavenly father. It was very religious as well. I got that from my grandma, and I do not have it anymore, I believe. Because fuck it. Fuck that shit. I know how to date. It's not dating men. Yeah. But, you know, I guess they mean well, even if they're misinformed on what the fuck is going on with me and my life. Haha. I wish there was better education on it. There's a story I want to tell y'all about, I guess, tangentially related to dating, but so there was this dude at my old work, and it was the worst. Just the worst. So what happened was, for a while we sort of just ignored each other. We were like working together and on the same team, but like I joined the team and then he joined the team a little bit later, and I didn't know him that well, and like so I didn't really talk to him because I was like, I have my friends on the team, I don't really need to talk to him. I talked to him for like work stuff. And then one day I was chatting with one of my other friends, and he and my other friend were having a conversation about like anime or some shit, like some nerdy like games, I think. Some nerdy thing. And so I was like, oh, hey, I like that nerdy thing, and I will chat about it because one of the people that I know is here. Even if I don't know him that well, I can still talk. And then the next day, he sent me a message and said, hey, let's go on a date. And I said, we've had one single conversation, and now you want to go on a date? Excuse me? It was just fucking bizarre to me. Like, what? Like, I don't think you should have a single conversation then ask someone out on a date. And I was like, no, I don't really know you. I don't want to go on a date with you. And he's like, but that's the point of going on dates, is that we can, like, have further conversations. And I was like, dude, what? I don't think that, but, like, sure, I guess. I don't know. That was just not my fucking... Oh, it was weird. Oh, yeah, he was desperate to find more than a friend, definitely. But I agreed to talk to him more, and we did have quite a few conversations. I also realized I didn't actually have chat on the screen. I've been responding to it, but it wasn't on screen. Whoops, there you go. Now you can see yourselves. Hooray. Oh my god, so fucking awkward. Anyways, it only got worse from there. Because, like, for a while it was fine, and we were just, like, talking about, like, games and other nerdy things, and I was like, this is fine, this is great. And then because I'm an oversharer, at some point I was like, yeah, I had, like, super bad depression and, like, suicidal thoughts, etc., because I just can't keep that information to myself, even though I really should. Oh, there's one. I just keep finding fucking tears in it everywhere. Where does it start? Right about here? Anyways, so he took that as an invitation to then start venting to me all the time, which sucked, because I was at work, and I don't want to have to deal with your emotional problems, my guy. I think, like, it's a sort of situation where, on the one hand, I'm like, I'm very sympathetic, because, you know, I've been through that, and I know that it's very difficult to deal with alone. But also, anytime I would give him advice, he would just waffle about it and be like, me, and me. And I was like, oh my god, if you're not gonna fucking listen to me, then don't ask for my goddamn advice, you... Oh, so irritating! He'd just be like, okay, try therapy. I think therapy is really great. I love going to therapy. And then he'd be like, and I was like, stop making fucking excuses. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. And if you don't want my advice, then stop asking for my goddamn advice, you freak. Ugh. And I was just getting so stressed at work because every single day he would bring this up. And I didn't want to talk about depression every day at work. Like, I was still going through it at that moment. Like, one of my main coping mechanisms that I've been slowly getting over over time was just like, ignore it. If I can think about something else, then I am not thinking about how I am sad. And if you remind me that I am sad, then I am switched off of the track of thinking about other things, and now I am reminded how sad I am all the time. And it sucks, so I don't want to bring it up if at all possible. And every single day he was just bringing it up, and then eventually I had to tell him to quit it. And then I left that job, because it was shit. And then the company got the biggest fine from the Federal Communications System in history, because they were doing some shady shit. So fuck y'all, caption call. The one good thing you gave me is this little mint tin that I put my needles in. I need to repaint it. I keep thinking about painting it, but I just don't. I don't know. I think it's oversharing a little bit, but it's also just like, I don't feel the need to lie about my experiences. 'Cause I'm like, I guess I'm an advocate for education on depression and learning that, like, it's okay, it's a thing that a lot of people experience, because that was one of the things that was so painful to me at first, was I didn't know really what depression was, and I was just having these feelings and blaming myself for feeling the way that I was, and I didn't understand that, like, I have a hormonal issue that is, like, making my levels go crazy, and, like, I'm way too intensely taking everything, and it was just bad. And part of it was that I just didn't understand what was happening, because I didn't know what depression really was, and I had to get education on, like, how to get out of those thought patterns and not just, like, blame myself for feeling that way. And, like, depression also, like, I was like, I know trauma exists, but, like, nothing bad has happened to me, so why am I sad? Why am I feeling traumatized? Because nothing has really happened. Like, none of the big events that you always hear will make you depressed had happened to me. And so that's another thing that I was, like, I do want people to get educated about that. I do often question, like, especially how do we educate, like, kids and high schoolers on that, because I think a lot of it can come off as kind of cringy, and, like, this doesn't relate to me, even if it does. It's a hard thing to sort of pull off. But yeah, so if I get asked those questions, I'm not going to be, like, kind of making it up, because I'm like, I mean, whatever, I'm not really ashamed of the fact that I was depressed, because for a long time I was, and I'm not going to be ashamed anymore. Because it sucks to feel bad that you were depressed, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to tell people what happened. But then it kind of backfired on me, so, you know. Yeah, definitely. Education is important in every aspect of life. I think that's one of the big reasons why, like, queer people are so mistreated, is because they just don't, because people just don't understand them, and they're like, that's weird and gross, and it's like, no, you just don't understand them. I think it's definitely a balancing act, and I think there are certain friends that, like, you just have to be on that level with, because I have friends who I will share my emotions to, and then I have people who I will not share my emotions to, and I think that's been part of it, is finding people who, like, have the emotional capacity to talk to me about that. And that's something that, like, me and my friends have practiced, is being like, hey, are you in the headspace to talk to me about this right now? Because that can be another part of it. If your friend is going through it, they're like, I don't really want to talk to you about this right now because I'm feeling bad and I can't handle it right now. And you being like, okay, then I'll go talk to somebody else about it. Even though you need that, like, emotional talk and that emotional support, it's still important to allow your friend to set some boundaries where they can be like, I can't handle this right now. I need to not talk to you about this right now. I need time by myself. And, you know, it works well that way, to find ways to share. And then if your friend is like, hey, I want to talk to you about my emotional problems, and you're like, I can't handle them right now, I'm sorry, then that's okay too. But, you know, it also takes just a certain type of person to listen to that. Not everybody has the emotional bandwidth or even, like, the emotional intelligence to share with that. Some of the people that I don't share with them because I won't like their response. Like, I don't really share that much with my mom anymore because she does not understand me in the way that I need her to. Like, especially when I'm like, capitalism sucks and I feel really bad about it. And then she'll be like, yeah, but there's like all these justifications. And I'm like, that's not the response I need from you. The response I need from you is like, I agree that really sucks and I'm sorry it feels so bad. And I don't need you to be like, no, it's not really that bad, when I'm like, I'm so sad that black people are getting shot every day. And then she's like, oh, but there's like good things in the world too. And I'm like, no, I just need you to be like, yeah, that is really sad that that happens. And I can see how that would be emotionally hurting for you. And not like giving me all the good things that are in the world. Like, sometimes you want solutions and sometimes you want just like commiseration of people just agreeing with you. And and that can come in different, like, people just have different responses to things, and so you have to learn, like, who has the right response to, like, what you want. And, like, I can talk to the friends who I will talk to and be like, hey, capitalism sucks, and they'll be like, yeah, fuck capitalism, and I'll be like, yeah, this is good, this is the response that I needed out of this situation. And I'm not going to tell my mom about that, because she won't agree with me, because she'll be like, yeah, but like, and I'm like, I don't need that right now. That's not what I'm looking for in this conversation. I'm like, coming here to be like, this sucks and I need someone to agree, yes, this sucks and it's okay that you're feeling bad, because I do agree that it sucks. So, but it's okay, we can get through it together, and it's okay that we have bad feelings sometimes, we can still feel good another day. But not like, but there's a solution and like it's not as bad as you think, and it's like, no, I just need you to acknowledge that like I'm having an emotion and this is the feeling I'm having, and if you could be like, yeah, that is valid that you have that feeling. That's usually what I'm asking for, and usually what I was not quite getting that I wanted to be getting so bad. Okay, there's some strings I'm gonna clip really quick. Boo. Just getting caught on them. The ones from the ripped spot. Rearrange. Where did I go? Here we go. And continuing. Yeah, I think it can be too much for some people, and you just kind of have to figure out who can take those conversations and who can't, and also try and, it's not a bad idea to ask ahead of time, like, hey, I want to tell you about this, and it might be kind of oversharing. Can you handle that right now? And, the answer won't always be yes, and so you have to respect that. Because sometimes it could be a little bit too much for them to handle. And that's what I was describing, is I was constantly having him overshare at me, and I was like, I can't handle this right now. I don't want to have this conversation at the moment. I'm trying to just have a nice day at work. We can talk about fun stuff, but I really don't want to talk about this because I'm trying to have a fun day at work, and this is bringing my mood down. We gotta cut it out. No, thank you. Yeah, that's one of the frustrating things. It is very hard to find universal communication. I think that's one of the things that is always, like, fascinating to me, is finding the ways to communicate with people. And, like I've mentioned, my job is working directly with autistic people. And one of the very interesting parts about it is that there are so many different ways to communicate. I am working at a day program for autistic adults. So at the beginning of the day, I pick them up from home, then we go and do activities. Like today we did some bingo at the park, and then we moved to the library because the cotton trees were cottoning all over us. And we were like, no, we can't be outside anymore. We're all going to die of allergies. Let's go inside. And we had lunch, and then we went to Nickelmania. That's what this on my hand is. It's a Nickelmania stamp. You can sort of read it. Nickelman, it says. We went to Nickelmania, which is an arcade. And then I took my client home. So yeah, I'll be assigned to 1 to 3 clients per day, and I'll help them out with whatever they need. There's, various levels. Some of them are in a wheelchair, some of them like need help communicating with others. Some of them are pretty much fine on their own. You just want to be there and ask them like, "Hey, you still doing good? Do you need anything? Please let me know if you do." And then they can pretty much take care of themselves. It's all different levels. It's a really good job that I love, but there are different communication levels. Some of them talk perfectly fine. Some of them don't talk at all. Some of them talk very rarely. One in particular is deaf, and so I'm trying my best to do sign language with her, but mostly, honestly, we just write in her notebook, which she's very used to, because that's the way that her family communicated with her throughout her life, is by writing in a notebook. But, we are all trying to like learn more sign language so that we can communicate with her more effectively. Yeah, there's definitely different levels. I would say we probably have like all 3 of those levels at my day program. I don't know if any of them live like fully independent. I think most of them have like other people at home, either parents or staff. Like a lot of them live at host homes, which means there's a home that will usually have like several autistic people all living together, and then they'll have day staff who are at the house doing like making sure that like chores are getting done. Like, not that like the autistic people who live there aren't doing chores or can't do chores, but just like needing more organization and like making sure that everything that needs to get done is getting done, and also providing support for whatever else they may need, like facilitating communication between members of the household or whatever. And then a lot of them also live with their parents, who help them with whatever daily trials they may have. Yeah, and so one of the really interesting parts that I love about work is learning how to communicate with everybody there, because not all of them talk, and they have a hard time with it. So I'm trying to learn, like, how are you communicating in, like, a nonverbal way? How are you communicating with me in your actions of, like, you are walking to this place because you are, like, upset, and so you're like, okay, well, do you need to go to the bathroom? And then they'll start walking towards the bathroom, and you're like, okay, we figured it out. We figured out what you needed, is you needed the bathroom, and so we're going to walk to the bathroom. And that's a way of communicating without words. Or whatever else. And so I think I am just always thinking about communication, of how it works with different people, how different people communicate. I think that's one of the most fascinating things about humanity, is the different ways of communicating we have. Like, we have languages, and then we also have gestures and verbal emotions. Like, you can make a heart like that, or you can make a heart like that. You can make a heart like that. Like, there's so many ways of making hearts. It's great. Yeah, it's frustrating. I think, like, it can be very nice talking with some of the people at work, because they're just honest. Like, they don't do double meanings. They don't do all of this, like, nonsense that neurotypical people sometimes do, where it's like, I don't want to talk about, like, all of these metaphors and things. I just want you to tell me what you mean. And, some of them do talk in, like, confusing ways and have hidden meanings. But that's okay, because we can figure it out together. Gotta readjust. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, the, like, hidden parts of language are, as frustrating as they are, fascinating in a lot of ways. I think one of my favorite ways, just because I enjoy writing and enjoy thinking about writing, and like, I enjoy reading a lot, obviously, because I have books, and I also have books that I've read that I haven't mentioned, that I don't happen to have on my bookshelf, but I still love nonetheless. What's going on with you? Why are you all folded up? Can you not be? It's all scrunched. Humph. We persist. Okay. Whew. I love thinking about how to properly communicate tone over writing, because that's one of the things in real life that is harder to see in text. Like, if I just send a text that says, I'm so mad at you, you might not know if I'm really mad or not. If I say, I'm so mad at you, then you know I'm probably really mad. Or if I'm saying, oh God, I'm so mad at you, then it's like, oh, then that's probably sarcasm, because it sounds different. Like, there's different things in tone that are not as easily translated over text. Like, if you're like, I'm so mad at you, like, it doesn't sound as serious as, like, I'm so mad at you. Whereas if it's a text statement, it just doesn't, that isn't there. And I think it's interesting how people have tried to innovate about that on the internet by putting, like, tone markers. I think that's an interesting way of doing it. But I also like to think about how that can be done even without tone markers. Like, how can I send a text that says, I'm so mad at you, that isn't being taken as seriously? Like, should I add, like, a tongue sticking out emoji? Should I add, like, JK? Should I add /sarcasm? Like, there's different ways of communicating that. And thinking about how you can make your message clear despite not having some of the indicators that a in-person conversation has is really interesting for me to think about. Like, how do I jokingly say that I'm mad at someone and not have them think that I'm actually mad at them? And it doesn't always work. I think I've confused people sometimes by trying things like that. But you know what? Everybody makes mistakes. If it doesn't work the first time, then I'll just try again. Because I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But whatever. It's kind of beautiful language, but kind of terrifying at the same time. Okay, I think I'm getting to the point where my thread's gonna fall off my needle, so I'm gonna tie it off and get some more. Hooray. Oh yeah, I did take a look at those. They were very well written. Good job. I've got to think about checking some of those games out. I'm a little, like, too set in my ways sometimes, where I'm like, I don't know if I really like RPGs, but I think I could like RPGs. I just haven't played many of them, so I'm a little nervous to try more of them. But, you know, I gotta branch out from just, like, the same games that I always play. But at the same time, I just want to play the same games that I always play. Ugh. The hard parts. That's like, I always read YA books because I'm like, I know I like YA books. Why would I read other books? But then there's other good books out there that are not young adult books. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm also, like, too set in my ways sometimes with games where, like, I get one weapon at the beginning and I learn how to use that weapon and I never change my weapon again. Which is hard with games that have, like, a more intricate system, such as, like, RPGs. I'm like, I'm just going to use the attack button. That's the only button I'm going to use, which doesn't always work, especially with ones that, like, have a tighter control system, which are, you know, in general better versions of the game because they have, like, some actual challenge to them. But I'm just like, scary, different. Where did my knot go? I don't know. Am I on top of it? Kind of. Let's do one more. Yeah, I'm also looking into upgrading my computer a little more. Because there are some, like I want to play online games like Overwatch, which is just, my computer is not able to handle streaming it. It can play it, but streaming it just doesn't fucking work. Yeah, it can be interesting to change powers. I'm just bad at it. I'm not against it. I just am not very adapted to it. It's a good thing. I'm just like a baby. Bit of a baby about it, you see? Alright, stop being all tangled up under there. Come here. Alright. I am interested in Jimmy and the Pulsating Mask. That one sounded very interesting to me. I think that's the one that I was most likely to check out, but you know. Also Calico. I did mention that last time, but I also loved Calico. It's a very fun little experience. Yeah, I recently played Mail Time, which is sort of similar to Calico in that you're like running around helping people doing little quests in a cute world. They're in a similar vein, although not exactly the same, obviously. I think I would classify them in the same sort of like cozy classification, I guess. Alright. I'm gonna get you all fixed up, don't you worry. Yeah, little stinker. I think this, I might do some like seam ripping of these because they're obviously like bulging a little bit and not sitting as tightly as I want them to. I think I was like trying to do a stitching technique that didn't quite work out, or it just like got more stretched with time. I think one of the reasons this skirt is so ripped is because it's a long one and it's easy to accidentally step on, and so there's been quite a few times where I've stepped on it and then I hear rip and I'm like, ah, fuck, not again. But you know, so it goes. Textiles can rip. That's one of the things they are capable of doing, alas. Okay, one more and then I should be able to tie off safely. Hopefully it doesn't rip further at least. Although it probably will. Yeah, I've also got to... I need to look up some patterns. I recently got a Rainbow High doll that I have not made any clothes for her yet, even though I want to. And I think it would be fun to make some clothes for her. Although I need to find some patterns for clothes that I think would look cute on her. I just haven't gotten around to it quite yet. God. Do you want to know? Here's another story. So my aunt and uncle own a toy store in a little shopping district, and I always loved to go and visit them, and for like a couple years I worked for them, just like basically yelling at passerby, hey, come buy toys, hey, come buy toys. Like, that was basically the job I was doing. I don't think I was really, I did the register like more recently, but in my youth, when I was like 12 or whatever, they would just be like, yeah, just help us advertise and we'll like give you $20 for the day. Not really official working, like non-taxable. I mean, I was a kid, so like I didn't fucking care. I didn't have much self-consciousness as a child. That's something that comes into play as you become an adult, is you're like, I don't want to demonstrate toys, that would be weird. But I was a child and I was like, I don't care. Everybody can look at me. I am a child. Oh, you were? Well, never mind then. I was always, like, very outgoing as a kid. My parents loved to tell me about how I was such a happy baby, always saying hi to everybody. Which, sure, I guess. I'll take your word for it. I don't fucking know what I was like as a baby. Alrighty. Tug that out. Because you're clearly not doing what I want you to do. So get out of here. Yeah, I was always a really outgoing kid. Like, I did theater and stuff in high school and junior high and as a child. I was, one time in a Christmas play, I was Ruby the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Who was the, definitely not Rudolph, because I'm a girl, reindeer in that play. Oh, very funny. I remember being, like, slightly scared of the man playing Santa Claus, just because he was, like, an adult and therefore large. And I was like, you are taller than me. I'm scared. But I got over it, because he was, you know, just a guy. I was also, like, one time in the store, I remember I grabbed somebody's legs. They were wearing jeans, and my dad was wearing jeans, and so I grabbed their legs, because I was like, hi, Dad! And then I looked up, and it was a stranger, and I was like, he's gonna murder me! It was just a dude. I don't think he was really a murderer, but in that moment I was like, this is the murderer! I've seen him before! He's gonna kill me! I'm gonna die! This is not my dad! It is a killer! Oh no! Very funny. Just like assuming everyone is out to get you as a child, even though they really don't care. They're just there. They're like, oh, a child has grabbed my leg. Okay, I guess. This is how my day is going. And I'm just like, ah! It's a fucking killer! So drama. Come along. Get all fixed up. Yeah, anyways, so my aunt and uncle had a toy store in this little shopping district. It's like a bunch of historic buildings that have been retrofitted into shops. There's a watermill in the area. It used to be like a historic village, and now it's like a shopping, like outdoor mall sort of. And so I would go there quite a bit to visit them, and like during the Halloween season, which is their big time of the year. What is happening here? Hello? I would go and participate and try and help them sell things, I guess. And I loved, in particular, the doll shop. I loved the doll shop so much. I would always go there every trip. Yeah, there's a lot of horror stories about that. I don't know how he felt. Maybe he was intimidated, more scared of me than I was of him, but I was pretty scared of him, so I don't know. Alright. Gotta find my way back. Behave yourself. Do what I want, please. Woo. Yeah, so I loved going to the doll shop. They had, like, American Girl dolls, and they had accessories for American Girl dolls, which was the better part, because I, like, had one knockoff American Girl doll. It wasn't, like, an official one. It was just a similar style, like, same size, same, like, cloth body, and then plastic head with real hair. And I couldn't afford much because I was a kid and I wasn't making that much money, but I could get, like, a little eraser that looks like a cake, a doll-sized cake, or I could get, like, a miniature book that my dolly could read. And so I loved that part of it. And they also had a bunch of other dolls there, so I just loved to sit and look at all the different clothes and all the different dolls that they had, because I've always loved miniatures, and I love dolls especially. I just think they're such cool little pieces of art. I love doll customization is so cool. That's one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is people who either like make from scratch their own dolls, who customize the dolls that they have to be new. And there's so many levels of it too. Like you can just put a new face and hair on them, or you can like take off their legs and replace it with a mermaid tail, or make them like a centaur or whatever. It's so fun. There's so many different options for what you can do, and the creativity of it, man, it's great. So this part is technically stitched up, but then it's ripped right here, so I'm just going to go over the whole thing in the hopes that the reinforcement keeps it from ripping any further. Oh my god, the low-key shaking is still happening. There's been construction outside for like 2 months now, and every couple of minutes I just shake back and forth. I just shake back and forth, and it feels like my chair's gonna fucking break underneath me. There's just a tiny earthquake at all times, and I'm going insane. I really need them to cut it out. I thought they were done because all of the walls of the building were gone, but then they kept fucking going. So I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna live with this until the new building is there. Oh my god. Why are they running so late? What's going on? Come on, y'all. I almost started late today because I went to the store. Oh no. It's like 6 p.m. here. But like, they go until it gets dark. They start when it gets light in the morning, and they go until it gets dark at night. I know the times they're doing it because I could fucking feel it at all times of day. They never stop. It's a nightmare. I'm in hell. Oh god. Would you cut it out, sir? Hello? Would you cut it the fuck out over there? I'm going crazy. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Shake, shake, shake. I don't want to shake. Thank you. Please cease and desist this punishment. Like, it's the sort of constant, low-key thing that, like, makes people think their house is haunted. It's like when there's like a buzzing noise constantly in the background, and then people are like, there's a fucking ghost in here, I know it. It's that. That's what's happening. I am in pain. Ugh. Severe emotional distress due to construction. It's also construction this morning. This morning started off bad, man. The road I needed to go down was blocked, and then my phone wasn't working, so I couldn't be like, hello, I'm gonna be late because the fucking construction. And then I had to push someone in a wheelchair, except the entire fucking sidewalk was blocked because they were like taking out the mulch from the playground and putting in new mulch in the playground, and so I had to push her over the fucking mulchy ramp. And then the sidewalk was blocked otherwise, so then I was like, okay, I guess we're going through the grass, which is not as easy as, it's not very easy to push a wheelchair on grass when you, I wish I could have pushed it on the sidewalk, but no, the whole sidewalk is blocked. God damn it. Bad fucking park choice today. We made a mistake. And then all the trees were constantly just spitting stuff at us. Ugh. My noise is for good noises, not make you go insane noises. Unless you're made go insane by one of those noises. Oh, there you go. Finally made it. Hooray. Alright. We're getting there. Almost to the thing. Bye-bye, have fun. I'll probably be done by the time you are done, because it's gonna start getting dark eventually. I think the sun is on its way to the horizon. Not there yet, though. Maybe the construction is on its way to stopping. I fucking wish it would be. God damn you. So I think the topics to like sort of keep me focused on the next couple of sewing live streams will be webcomics and manga, talking about the ones that I have read and enjoyed and maybe even recommend. My wrist is also getting sore. Ugh, stretch, stretch, stretch. Oh, I just heard my knuckles crack. Let's see. Oh, that's a good one. I hope you heard that. Or I hope you didn't hear that if you don't like knuckle cracks. Sorry. Whoops. Gotta get a good one in every once in a while. Don't tell me it causes arthritis, because that hypothesis has been disproven. Oh, also I went to They Might Be Giants concert. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's the concert that got delayed for 3 years. But I went and had a very fun time. I got a poster. It was very fun. When we were standing in line, my dad was like, quick, hide so they don't see us. I want to play a prank on the people who are meeting us. And then they were like, yeah, I hope it's Asmer instead of Asmer Hell. And then I heard them being like, okay, pink hair, where's pink hair? Too bad. My sneak ability has been greatly reduced. I have pink hair. They can see me, bitch. They know where I am. Yeah, I do have pink hair IRL. Hooray for me. Although it's like already kind of growing out here. Wow! Hair reveal! Okay, it's getting to the point where I need to like cut the other one out a little bit. Hi, how connected are you? Would you like to not be connected anymore? Because that's what I would like. Because you're a mess. You're just a mess. Like, God. Tug, tug, tug. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop. Gotta find all my little lines. This one's like even more damaged. Normally it has a seam along here, and then this doesn't have the seam. Where, like, they hemmed it on a serger, it looks like. My grandma had a serger, and when she was giving it away, I considered taking it, but then I was like, I'm not going to use that. I should give it away to somebody else. I did take her sewing machine, but not the serger. Because I'll probably use a sewing machine. A serger is pretty situational. It's basically just a machine that does this to the edges, so it's not a raw edge. It's got like thread holding it together. Okay, there's the knot. There's the thread. All gone. Wah. I can go in with the others. My little pill bottle. Pill bottles are useful, man. They're just little containers. It's not so much traditional container, but who needs a traditional container when I have one that I got for free? Well, that's a lie. I did pay for my medication, but the bottle itself I didn't pay for. I'm pretty sure that's included in the price of the medication, right? They're not charging me extra just for a bottle to keep all my pills in. Should I buy them wholesale instead? Say, hey, I need a medication refill. Literally refill this bottle for me. Okay. Because this, the texture of this skirt, I am like slightly worried that this is longer than this. But if I fold it, it shouldn't look too weird. Because it is kind of a scrunched and folded skirt anyways. This is also like putting a bit of stress on my hand, but ah well. So is the task. That's kind of how it goes. Okay. Okay, hold you. Stab you. Hold and then stab. That is how you sew. Stab over and over and over. Ooh. I think it would also be fun while I'm making doll clothes to maybe like do some tier lists of how dolls go. Although that's another thing that I should probably put on my wish list is a second monitor, which I need. Currently I'm just like having one monitor, and I think for like if I want to share a browser window, it would be much easier to have a second monitor because then I can put the window that I want to share on one monitor and have the other shit that I don't want Stream to see and that I still need to look at on another monitor. So that would be nice, but I need to get a monitor for that, which costs money like everything else in this goddamn bitch of an earth. Come on, there you go. Woo. Wait. It's getting warm outside. Oh, right. I was going to talk about the other book that I went to the mall today before I started. 3 monitors? I'm jelly. It is very useful. I want at least 2. I guess now I have to get 3? What the heck do you even use them all for? I know what I would use 2 for, but 3, my god. You're very fancy. Congrats. I was saying that today before I started streaming, I decided to go to the mall today because it was like sort of on my way home, and I kind of wanted to go to a furniture store. I really need a shelf because I have a bunch of fucking shit that I need to store and I don't have a place to store it, so I need a shelf or something, but then I didn't end up getting a shelf. I just went to all the mall shops today. I was also like, maybe I can buy some earrings. So I just wandered around the mall and ate some pretzel bites and ended up getting some clothes and some books, which are those are like not in reach. Give me a second, god damn it. Bag ASMR. Yatsuba! I love Yatsuba. It is a very fun series. These are like old library books you can see. I guess that kind of tells you. Although I don't know where Harriman Library is, but Salt Lake County Library. I love the Yatsuba series. These are volumes 2 and 4. I guess I'll get the other ones eventually. They've also been scribbled on. But that's okay. They were from a used bookstore. But I just looked at their manga section and I was like, Yatsuba! I love Yatsuba. That's one of my manga that I really love. And luckily, because it's one that you can sort of read out of order, it's like very episodic and not all tied together. It's just like the crazy adventures of a little kid in the city and all of her friends and things that happen to her. And not like super dependent on continuity. So I can sort of get the volumes out of order, luckily. So yeah. I decided to check that one out for today. And now I have that. I love Yatsuba. It's, as I said, just read like a little kid in the city. I love manga about kids in general. I think kids are cute. I love childlike wonder and just like wandering about the world doing things. And it is like one of the... It's just very funny overall. Like even the non-little kid characters are all really funny in their own ways. All of their interactions are great. Plus it's, you know, it's very low stakes. Nothing terrible happens. It's just a fun little one to read. So I figured I saw that and I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's get it. And then I went to Hot Topic in search of earrings and instead found clothes which cost significantly more. Oh no. Why are you pausing my video? Yes, I'm still watching it. God. Rude. Trying to jam. Alright. Whoop. We're getting there. I also did notice there's like this uncomfy spot on the waistband that I need to fix, but one at a time, one at a time. Can't get ahead of myself. Yeah, it's very fluffy and wholesome. It, like, the final chapter is they go shopping for school supplies, and Yatsuba's dad sees her with, like, her little school backpack on and is like, my child is grown up. And then that's the end of it, where it's like, oh no, I love her so much and she's so grown up and how far we've come, and it's great. It's just a cute little one. Seriously, that is not very good for my hands. Having it all bunched like that, but I gotta hold it. Ugh. The trials and tribulations. Truly too much. Nothing will ever be as dumb. Maybe I should just, like, have a stream where I show off all the things that I've made, but I made a doll-sized leather jacket with puffy sleeves because I thought that would be cute. Do not sew through leather in multiple layers. Why did I think that was a good idea? I also didn't have any tools for it. My fingers were just crying at the end because I was like, oh my god, just trying to, like, go through, like, 3 or 4 layers of, like, faux leather fabric. Do not attempt that shit. It was bad. Oh my god. But it turned out cute! It just wasn't a good idea. Oh my god. Silliness. The idea of your children growing up. Oh my god. So sad. But, you know, it's also good. It's part of life. Gotta accept that growing up happens, as hard as it is. Oh, I just took my needle out on accident. It's a little hard because obviously I'm, like, doing half of it blind because I'm not turning it over every time, but, you know. God, how should I be holding this so it doesn't hurt me as much? God. Like this? Putting my elbow up on my sewing box, does that relieve the pressure at all? Remains to be seen. I don't know yet. Kind of. Just need, like, a clamp or something. I need a robot arm that doesn't get tired when I hold it in a weird way. How about that? Why is the human body getting carpal tunnel and shit? Weak ass! Come on, get good. Yeah. Speaking of robot, by the way, I decided to reread one of the series that I liked as a kid because I was looking at all of my books that I read as a kid and have on my shelf. One of the series that I don't have on my shelf, though, is The Lunar Chronicles, which I remember I liked quite a lot. And I think it's still pretty good. I think one of the things about it that I'm, like, a little annoyed about, but also, like, understanding of, is the exposition of what happened in the last book, which I think is probably mostly, like, I'm reading it all at once. And so I'm like, yeah, I fucking know this. Skip over this paragraph. God. Sorry for shaking my whole desk. Jesus. I want to skip past this paragraph, like, this is dumb that it's here. But it also does make sense. Like, you kind of have to describe what happened last book in case people, like, it's been a couple years and they forgot, or they, like, accidentally picked this one up and they have to know what's going on. But it is still, like, annoying when I'm like, I just read that part. You don't need to tell me what happened again. But Lunar Chronicles is quite a fun little series. It's, like, kind of science fiction fairy tales reimagined. The first one is Cinderella, but as a cyborg. And so instead of leaving a shoe behind, she ends up leaving her foot behind. Oh my god. So funny. But it's a genuinely really interesting story. And one of the coolest parts is the idea of the lunars. So, like, some years in the past of this, like, future Earth, where, like, there's high tech and everything, and, like, everything is, like, a hover car instead of a driving car, and there's, like, all of these different new conventions. Actually, you know what would be more comfortable if I close that and then put my elbow on it? How about that? Silly me. I was like, it's stabbing me. Yeah, because it's not flat, but guess what? Now it is. Alright. So, one of the things that happened in the future of this world is that some humans colonized the moon, and then they spent like 1,000 years up there and evolved so that now they can manipulate bioelectricity. And it's basically like a version of the Fae Court in like old stories, like in Shakespeare and things, where like there's mysterious Fae who live in the woods / on the moon who can manipulate people and glamour them, and they have a beautiful but fake world, and you'll get stuck there forever if you go there, and all of this sort of like, it's a really cool reimagining of all that sort of mythology, but instead of like the wild woods, it's the moon, and I think it's really cool. Of the mix of like, also it explains in the story that they don't actually have magic, they're manipulating people's like bioelectricity, which is one of those like science fiction / science fantasy things where it's like that couldn't actually happen in real life, but like it's an excuse that keeps it within the sci-fi setting instead of putting it into a magic setting, where they're like, I can manipulate your brainwaves with my powers and I'm just like attuned to it because of whatever, instead of like I have magic. It's an interesting way of making that work within the setting. Instead of giving them magic, it sort of explains them in a way that is not magic, which is nice. But it's also just a fun little story. I think it's one of those stories, like, I could write a whole essay about this, and I did in fact try once, but when you are doing world building, unfortunately, even if you are a Mormon author and a bit of a bitch, you have to include gay people, because the bigger your world gets, the more obvious it is that they're missing. So basically what happened is, once upon a time I was reading some Brandon Sanderson books, and he is very famous for A, being from Utah and being Mormon, and B, writing really chunky, really chunky books with really good world building. And the further I was getting into his book, like, they're all like that big, they're really big books, and like they focus on like the world and the politics and all of that a lot. And the further I was getting into it, the more I was like, there's something missing here. Like, we're exploring all of this, why do I feel like there's something missing? Like, he's good at world building and like all of this makes sense, but like, what is this void that I'm sensing? And then I realized, oh, it's queer people. This was specifically with the Shards of Radiance series or something. It's like the one that's all about like the Red Rock aesthetic, which again, famous, he's from Utah, it's pretty obvious. But like Words of Radiance, something. But as like, there's a big focus in it on gender roles. Like, all of the women wear like a glove on their hand, and it's called their safe hand, and like there's different rigid gender roles, like women don't go to the army, and like only men can do these jobs, and all of that sort of thing. Like a version of it that is similar to our world but also different. And yet there was nobody breaking those gender roles, and I wasn't even like asking for a trans person. I was just like, there should be like a fake woman who's like, I want to be in the army, I'm gonna Mulan it. Mulan is a really famous story. I know he's heard the story of Mulan, if like at least the Disney version, if not any other version of it. So like, what the fuck? There's no woman in the army? Like, you can't convince me that no woman would try and be in the army and would be cross-dressing to be in the army. And then there was also no gay people and no like queer people, and it was bad world building because of that, because those appear in society. Look, you can see the elastic. I gotta fix that. This should be easier, at least. I don't have to hold it as much. Whoop. Oh god. Flipping it around. No, my thimble! It fell. Thimble, come back. Where'd you go? Ah! Hello. I'm back. It fell all the way to the ground. Oi. Okay. Where was I? There I am. I think this is another place where I repaired it because the thread looks different. Although I don't know what exactly it is that I did. Ah, well. Right about here is where I need to be going. Oh, nope, wrong. Slightly wrong. Slightly closer. Right there? Yep, that's about where I want it to be. Yeah, this is thicker, so I'm gonna have to go a little harder in order to get through, huh? Ooh. Yeah, so you have to have queer people exist in your stories, because the longer you go without them being recognized, the more obvious their absence becomes until it feels like a void. Like, you can't tell me that that kind of person wouldn't exist in the world. And even if you want to say that that's a weird and bad person, they still have to exist. Like, it was interesting. I was thinking about it as I started rereading, like, the Goose Girl series, which, again, has a similar problem, where at first it's fine, because you're just focused on, like, the main characters, but the longer you read and the more the world expands, the more you're like, hey, there should be some gay people around. Like, where's the fucking gay people? But what Goose Girl did that Brandon Sanderson did not is that at the very end, one of the villains comes up, the female villain comes up to the female main character and kisses her on the cheek. And it is treated as weird and creepy. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine then. I no longer have an issue, because it's seen that, like, a woman kissing another woman on a cheek in, like, a vaguely romantic way is, like, weird and wrong. And that solves the problem. Like, now I can extrapolate what this is like in this world, what people's opinions on it are, what they think about queer things. What do they think about gay people? They think they're a little weird and villainous. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's fine. Because it is, like, a semi-medieval world, and I'm like, I'm not mad at it. Like, obviously it's probably a little bit homophobic to have that moment, but also whatever. It doesn't necessarily reflect on the views of the author. I mean, I know it does, because I know Shannon Hale is also another Mormon author. I've read all the Mormon books, because they're what's popular where I live. Guess what fucking state I'm in. What are you doing? There's another fucking thread that's gotten caught on here somehow. Go away. Humph and harumph, I say. So yeah, it's an interesting little debacle that can occur. This is also, like, a place where it's sort of folded over. But I can just sort of fold it how I want, and it won't look too bad. Because it's crinkly anyways, I might as well crinkle it to my own needs and desires, eh? I think I should go over that to flatten it out a little. Right there. Hi, welcome. We're just chatting. What was I talking about? I was talking about the Lunar Chronicles. That's what I was talking about. But yeah, that's one of the books where, like, the lack of queer people suddenly becomes more and more obvious the further in the books you go, because you're like, really? All of these bitches is heterosexual? What are the fucking chances? There's so many of them. What is that? Oh, did I, like, accidentally go through the same... I think I did. I think I went through the same hole and just undid a stitch. Whoops. Can happen. It can happen. Just doing little tiny ones. Get that waistband in order. I should probably use a darker thread, but I'm too lazy to bother. Who cares? Visible mending is cool and trendy and punk. Ha ha ha. But I do quite like the Lunar Chronicles, even if it is, like, a little relentlessly heterosexual. When you're at book 4 and you're like, Jesus, one of you be gay, please. I've had enough. It's got a very interesting way of reimagining, like, a fae court, as instead they live on the moon. And all of the characters are pretty great. I do like all the characters. They've got their own, you know, quirks and personalities, which is nice. I quite like them all. But yeah, it was very popular, like, while I was a teen. There was a lot of other people on the internet who were very into it. And I was like, I wonder if I would still like it as an adult, and I think I do. Although, I don't think it's one of my favorite book series, as it once was. But I do still like it. So, pretty decently written. Got some interesting ideas. Not the best thing I've ever read, though. But, you know, that's not a bad review. Most of the other books that I have on my shelf are, like, about writing. I have a Monsters of the Week manual, although I've rarely really used it. I want to get into it, but I just never really had the chance. Because then I was, like, out of high school and didn't interact with anybody. Lonely, with no friends. Yeah, I think they must have sewn this and then did some of the dyeing because, like, the thread matches really well. And now it doesn't because I'm sewing it and you can see the thread. Oh no. It's okay. It's also, like, hopefully nobody's looking that closely because why would you bother? I'm really the only one who's noticing it because I'm so close to it. You know, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Although it's also like, this is a future story. There should be more weird gender shit. Like, you see how much weird gender shit? I guess it was like a future story written in like the 2000s, but still. People are doing so much weird gender shit now. I can only imagine it being exacerbated in the future, and I, for one, am excited about it. Get fucky with it. Fuck the man. Do what you want. Be a boy, girl, girl, boy, boy. That's another childhood book that I need to buy a copy of that I don't fucking own a copy of. God damn it. Okay. Actually, I might actually run and grab some things so I can show them off. But, so, there's a really good book called The True Meaning of Smekte that I would definitely recommend. And it is, like, kind of meant to be a kid's book, but it's just a good book. You should just read it anyways, even if it is kind of a kid's book, because it's worth it. It's about how one day the aliens invaded Earth. And that day was called Smek Day, because the leader of the aliens is Captain Smek, who is the greatest and bestest of them all. And, on this day, Tip, whose name is Gratuity, like, Tip at a restaurant, that's what her mom named her, her mom gets kidnapped, but she manages to hide and evade the aliens. And then she has to go find her mom, which is quite the process because the aliens said, okay, well, we're going to put you in Florida. But then they discovered that there are oranges in Florida, and they really like oranges because they want to wear them as shoes. And so they moved them from Florida to Arizona, which they didn't like as much. And so then Tip has to move and go, instead of to Florida, to Arizona. And along the way, she meets an alien who is a bit of an outcast in his community for being just such a fuck up. He's, like, supposed to fix a radio or whatever, and he, like, messes it up so bad and accidentally sends a signal to, like, the evil bad aliens that keep destroying the Earth, which is the reason that these aliens decided to invade the Earth, is because their planet got destroyed by the evil aliens, and now they've run to Earth to take over Earth instead. Except now, this goddamn idiot told them where they are! It's so fucking funny. I love how stupid he is. He's my favorite. And guess what? His name is J-Lo because he looked up on the internet and said, okay, what's a normal human name? J-Lo. And it's like, that's a celebrity. Did you know that's a celebrity? My name is J-Lo. And he's so fucking funny and real for it. I'm gonna actually go get some of my fucking merch for this. They made a movie of it. The movie kind of sucks ass. It's a mixed bag, but I'm gonna go get all my things. BRB. Wah! Where are you, friend? Oh, God. Him face! Here. Make my VTube model work. Oh, God. Tripping over the garbage. BRB! Him. This is a McDonald's toy they made. Ain't he a cutie? So, a while back, DreamWorks made a movie called Home, which is based on the book, the far superior book called The True Meaning of Smek Day. The True Meaning of Smek Day deals with themes of racism, specifically towards Indians. That's why the aliens force everybody to move from Florida to Arizona, because that's what we white people did to the Indians. Several times we said, hi, hey, hello, yeah, so I like the place you're living right now, and I'm gonna make you move. That's no problem, right? Yeah, it sucks. That happened a lot. What was I doing? I need to look up a picture. To explain this next thing that I'm gonna show you. Where is he? Where's a good image of him? Let me save this image. Gimme. Let's go. Okay, almost there. He's just a little guy. There are illustrations in the book, so, like, the movie does have very accurate designs to the book, although the plot is not as accurate. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. I needed image. Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh, what folder did I save that to, actually? I think I saved it to my right folder, maybe? Yeah, I did. Okay. There he is! So, that's J-Lo, who they named O in the movie because everybody sees him and goes, oh, it's you. But, like, his name should be J-Lo. Anyways, and that's the cat, who I have a plushie of. You want to see the plushie? Look at this fucking creature! Those are supposed to be the same! It's supposed to be the same animal. What is this? What animal is this? I know it's also got, like, a choke collar on, because I didn't know what to do with my old wristband and just decided he gets a collar. But, like, these are not the same creature. Also, tail, failure. His tail is a little curly Q in the movie. It's very fun and cute. What the fuck kind of animal is this? This is not a cat. This is not a cat. Literally, my dad found this and gave this to me, and he put a picture of the cat on the box. Because he was like, you won't be able to recognize what this is if there's not a picture of it on the box. There you go. He's posed. He's beautiful. He's gorgeous. Okay. Let me see if I can find any more tears in here. Oh, there's a little one. So, yeah. That's what the cat is supposed to look like, and it just doesn't. And then I also have a huge, very huggable plushie of him. Look at him! He's so big.
And on the count of three.
It's muted. Hello? 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 I'm suffering. Oh, there we go. This one fucking works for some reason, although I don't have a way to hold it besides my goddamn fingers, which kind of ruins this. I'm in pain. Although I can sing now because this is my singing mic. God damn it. Why does my desk mic not work? I don't have a holder for this one. Also, the holder that I currently have is using the thing. I can't hold both of them at the same time. What the heck? Well, okay. Maybe I will end the stream then, because I don't know what the fuck, why my desk mic is deciding that it shit the bed. I tried turning it off and on again, and that didn't do anything, so that's fun. God damn it. I guess. I don't know why. Because it hates me. Hello. Oh, god damn it. Well, alright. I'm going to finish telling you about this thing. About this great story, because it's a great story. We can just look at his face. I was just talking about how there's a secret in his head, and that it's that he has a quarter in his head, and that I love him. That's his secret, is that he has a quarter for me, and that he's cute, and that he's got cute little legs. Look at his little legs. Anyway, so this is J-Lo from The True Meaning of Smek Day. DreamWorks made a film called Home, which is when all the merch really came out, but the book is far superior. The book is superior because it talks about what we did to Indians, we white people, about how the aliens invade Earth and they make all of the humans move from Florida because they decide that they're like, okay, all of the humans get out, all the humans can go live in Florida. Except then they decide they like Florida because Florida has oranges, which make great shoes for these guys. And then they make them move to Arizona instead, I think. I don't know if it's actually Arizona. Wait, where's Roswell? Because it's in there. Isn't that in Arizona? Roswell, the fucking alien place? Anyway. Yeah, then they make them all move to Arizona, where Roswell is. But the other great thing, there's two great things that the movie did not include, which are the reasons the movie sucks. I mean, it's not the worst movie. It's still got these guys, which it's very well animated, but you know, there are things that I wish it would have had that it did not have. And one of those two things is that the book has a very, very good and funny parody of Disneyland. One of the coolest fucking things about it is that at night, all of the attractions flip upside down so that the new clean version of the attraction is there, because it's like supposed to be the cleanest place on Earth. Definitely not a Disney parody. Don't look at me. It's also called like Happy Mouse Kingdom or some shit. Very funny. So during the day they can clean everything and make it all tidy, even though like there's another version of it out there which is so cool, and they use that technology to flip it up and crash a spaceship. And the other great thing is the moment where there's a cloning machine and they clone the cat, which is a real cat instead of this fucking creature. Goddamn Hellspawn. I love him though. What animal is this? Someone tell me what animal this is. I still don't know. It's definitely not a cat. Whatever. But they clone the cat a million times,
and there's just like 4 pages of just the word meow over and over and over again. And I was so excited to see that moment in the movie. And then they didn't put that moment in the movie. They didn't have the cloning machine in the movie at all. I was so excited for the million pigs all meowing at the same time. And then they didn't include it 'cause they hate me. So, you know, pretty mid movie. The book is much better. I really wanted that moment where all the cats meowed at once. I was so looking forward to it. I was ready to have my ears busted. But alas, it didn't happen. So, 'cause my shit is busted, I'm gonna sing y'all a song, and then I'm gonna be done for today, 'cause I'm using my singing mic, and you know what? The temptation is too hard to resist. So, give me just a second. I'm gonna go with The Ballad of Jane Doe 'cause I fucked it up last time, and I think I could do it better this time. So, here we go. We say we're released, pushing daisies to cease, but we all know the worms must be fed. Here's just one lingering fear. Oh, my soul, is it here? Or is it rotting somewhere with my head? Oh, my soul, oh, my soul, oh, my soul, oh, my soul. Oh, no soul and no name and no story, what a shame. Cruel existence was only a sham. Oh, St. Peter, let me in. You must know where I've been. Won't you tell me at last who I am? Who I am, who I am, who I am, who I am. And from the ground beneath my feet, I hear the anguish of the street, a choir never complete, and like an old forgotten tune, a song that no one knows, forgot how it goes. Just John and me, forever eternally, Jane Doe. And I'm asking why, Lord, if this is how I die, Lord. Why be left with no family and no friends? I've got no celebration, just this consolation. Time eats all his children in the end. Oh, 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 ah. A melody floats through the air. When silence falls, does no one care? Another sad, forgotten tune, another song that no one knows. So that's how it goes. Now that all is said and done, isn't there anyone to tell me who I am? We're singing songs of celebration. Ah, 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 like John Albee, eternally a forgotten name, some lost refrain, just Jane. Well then, thank you so much for joining. I will see y'all this weekend. I said I was going on vacation a while ago, but then the vacation got canceled because I'm going with my brother and he had other shit going on and we had to push it back. So next month sometime I will go on vacation, but it's not happening this month. So I'll see you all this weekend. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I guess hopefully buying a new keyboard between now and then so I can play my games. And hopefully my fucking microphone figures its shit out. But anyways, bye-bye for now. I'll see y'all another day. Sorry for the fucking technical difficulties. Oh my god, so annoying. Where was I? Bye. We're in real time. I'm glad that I figured it out. I wish my microphone hadn't fucked off though. But bye anyways. The thing is, no. Everything is going horribly wrong today. Okay, bye.